Speaker of the Day, Dr. Subramanian Swamy, Honorable Member of Parliament, Rajya Sabha, Senior Vice President, Mr. Madhav Chandran, Honorary Secretary, Mr. Bibu Kunnuran, our past presidents, Managing Committee members, KMA members, invited guests, students, ladies and gentlemen, a very warm evening to all of you. We all know India's first wave of economic reforms were triggered by an economic crisis during which economic growth fell to just 1.1% in 1991. With some estimates suggesting that India's economy will contract by a staggering 45% year-on-year contraction for the current quarter. There are some signs that the current crisis could trigger a change of direction in terms of economic management, though in which direction is much less clear. Restructuring India's public finances to spend more on health, education, and infrastructure, and less on wasteful subsidies will also be needed. India has been forced a reset by COVID-19. While it has set us back by at least 5 years, it gives India an opportunity to revitalize and structure our economic system for the future. The political economy of reforms has changed. Aristotle said it best. There is an opportunity in every crisis. One hopes India takes it. Few hours back, first time in the 62-year existence of KMA, we have created a history by conducting the first ever online extra general body meeting, EGM online over Zoom. Thank you, my dear KMA members, for being a part of this history making. This evening, we are attending the 15th webinar of KMA, and I'm extremely happy to have a very popular politician, former IIT professor, economist, and a most sought after speaker to talk to us about how will COVID-19 and now China affect our economy. Sir, welcome to KMA. We are waiting to listen to your thoughts.
Thank you.
Thank you all for the remarkable response towards KMA Leader Talk sessions. Trust you and your dear ones are healthy and safe. Work safe and take care. Thank you. Now I invite our Senior Vice President, Mr. Madhav Chandran, to speak few words and welcome the gathering. Madhav, please.
Thank you, President Jibu Paul. Very good evening, President, and our esteemed Speaker of the Day, Subramanian Swamy. We were eagerly waiting to hear a few words from him and other Managing Committee members, esteemed members of KMA. Very good evening to each one of you. COVID has changed everything, and KMA also has adapted to it quite well. This Leader Speak series has been a kind of a history-making episodes as far as KMA is concerned. We've been able to rope in many few celebrity speakers and people who couldn't have made it to Kerala in these times. Thanks to COVID and thanks to the online platforms available, we are able to get such decision-making authorities and such kind of influencing motivators to come and address us. We had a series of ministers, IAS officers, IFS officers, IPS officers, and many technocrats coming in and addressing us on this Leader Speak platform. Today we have a very blatantly forthright, straightforward speaker, and he's a leader in all senses, be it academics, be it politics, be it economics, be it any kind of opinion making. He has been a leader par excellence. It's really a blessing that that way COVID brought us an opportunity to get him online on this platform. And we are all eagerly waiting to hear him because COVID has put forward so many experts on the field right now. Of course, medical experts are talking about the scary part of COVID. The WhatsApp experts are giving daily, sermons on different things. And the general public, after the second, unlock phase, people have become slightly more confident or rather pseudo-confident about the situation and going out and embracing the situation as if anyway it has to come, let it come. And the stock market for that matter, we are talking about economy on the downhill or we are scary about it. stock market is going places. Today also on Friday, we were seeing that. So what are we up to? And who else other than Stuart, actually economist par excellence, to talk about it. Let us listen to him and let us welcome him wholeheartedly to this KMA Leader Speak session. Welcome, sir. Thank you for being here. And welcome our program committee chair, Raj Mohan Nair, for arranging all these sessions in such style with such quality speakers coming in and addressing all of us and making KMA a worthwhile place to be in. Thank you, Raj Mohan Nair, for this. And Secretary Bibu Punuran and all others in the managing committee, welcome to you all. And the delegates who have been present here, as President rightly said, the wholehearted support you give all throughout, and especially during the historic, extraordinary general body meeting which had just a few hours back. That was really, really genuine and encouraging to all of us who are at the office of KMA to take KMA to even greater heights. Thank you so much for being there, and thank you so much for being here today, and welcome you all to this special edition of Leaders Speak with none other than Dr. Subramanian Swamy addressing us. Thank you so much, and welcome you once again. Good evening. Over to you, President.
Thank you so much, dear Madhav, our Senior Vice President. Now I invite our Program Committee Chairman and our past President, Mr. Raj Mohan Nair, to introduce our today's guest. Sir, please.
Thank you, President Jibu Paul. Good evening, my dear professional colleagues and invited guests to this important evening program. We are happy to be here for the 15th edition of the Leader Talks during these COVID days. Friends, today we have an eminent Indian economist, statistician, politician in Dr. Subramanian Swamy, who is the Member of Parliament in Rajya Sabha, the upper house of the Indian Parliament. Dr. Subramanian Swamy has served as the member of the Planning Commission of India and was a cabinet minister during the Chandrasekhar government. He was one of the founding members of the Janata Party. He served as the party's president since its inception in 1990 till 2013, when it got merged with the Bharatiya Janata Party. He was elected to Lok Sabha 5 times between 1974 and 1999. Dr. Swamy was instrumental in exposing the infamous 2G scam and the National Herald scandal. He has fought many legal battles in the public life. Dr. Swamy is a fast learner. He was challenged into learning Chinese language, one of the hardest language the world over, within 1 year. Dr. Subramanian Swamy accepted the challenge and proved his mettle by mastering in it within 3 months. His wife, Mrs. Roxana, who is a lawyer by profession, played a major role in training him in the legal field. He was an economist in United Nations in 1963 and a consultant to World Bank in 1986. Friends, Dr. Swamy has an important connection in Cochin. He is the chairman of the Board of Governors, School of Communication and Management Studies, SCMS, Kochi. I take this opportunity to thank our member, Mr. Pramod, the Vice Chairman of SCMS, who is instrumental in bringing Dr. Swamy as a speaker today. I had the privilege to share the stage with Dr. Subramanian Swamy on KMA, the 35th Annual National Management Convention 2016 in January 2016. Ladies and gentlemen, with great pleasure and pride, I present to you our former Union Minister, Dr. Subramanian Swamy, the Member of Parliament. Over to Dr. Swamy, the podium is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Great privilege to be invited by a prestigious management association like the KMA. And thank you for the welcome that you have given. We have a very, very important topic before us, and I'm privileged to be assigned to speak on it. And I'll welcome questions at the end of my talk. First of all, let me say that as far as the economy is concerned, it was already in a bad shape when the coronavirus pandemic took root in India. And so we cannot say because of the corona, the economy is in bad shape. It's in a worse shape than if corona had not come, but it certainly was declining, and the growth rate, in fact, which we had achieved in 2015 of 8% had declined to less than 4%. And I think because of corona, by next year, next financial year is over, we shall be in -5% by almost all reliable estimations. So we now are faced with a declining growth rate. We are faced with unemployment. We are faced with closing down of enterprises. We are finding these workers who came in as migratory workers in terrible shape. Gross unemployment, they say by the end of the financial year can even be as high as 40% of the labor force. So we have a major crisis. And the question is, what will be the effect all told in rescuing the economy in the context of this continuing coronavirus? And also the fact that the Chinese are now put us in what might become a war-like situation. I mean, a war situation where we have planes bombing, etc., etc. A full-fledged war could take place. And so we have to look at it in perspective and plan for it. I will say two things. First of all, such an economic crisis is not unprecedented in world history. In 1930, there was a huge depression. And people had to stand in queues on the street to just get a cup of soup. And it was a miserable situation. And these economies which were affected, mostly the Western countries, they all came out of it. And then after World War II, they boomed and became, places of mass production. So internationally, there are examples that you don't have to tumble. India itself has had many such crises where people predicted that we'll collapse. For example, it was predicted when the food shortage took place in 1965-66 due to shortage of rain. And we had to rely on the Americans to send ships of wheat and rice to us. And we were derogatively called a country waiting from ship to mouth. That is, our mouth couldn't be, filled with food unless a ship came, and then that people were all praying that the ship comes on time. This kind of thing in 1965 was disgusting. But at that time, the then Prime Minister Lal Bahadur Shastri assembled a committee of experts, and he had himself in his own cabinet also people like C. Subramanian, who was very familiar with agriculture. And they devised what is called a package for about 10% of the farmers. And that package included enough potassium, enough fertilizer, guarantee of water, electricity, new seeds. And so what happened is within 10 years, when we were being predicted, books were being written that India will be swallowed by famine, that's the end of India, people will be savages, they will be rioting in the streets. All this was written in a book by the State Department of the United States, in a book called, authored by two brothers called Paddock and Paddock. And they were both State Department employees. And you can still get it if you go to Google or Amazon. And I don't think the book is out of print. It is 1965, but it's horrific what they said about India. So I would say that in less than 10 years, we became a food exporting country. By 1975, we couldn't find places and godowns to keep our grains. That was the situation that was transformed because we had that potential. And that potential was exploited to a limited extent, 10%. And that produced what is called the Green Revolution. If we do the same thing for the 90% left, I'm sure that we'll feed the whole world. We'll have enough to feed the whole world. So I'm not, pessimistic about India. Same thing is when I came as Commerce Minister and Law Minister. At that time, we had a huge foreign exchange problem. because the VP Singh government had not left enough foreign exchange, and the dues of short-term loans that people had taken from abroad became due after we took over, and we didn't have enough money. So the question of defaulting came, and being declared as a bankrupt country by international agencies. All this was staring us in the face. And at that time, I was given the task to find a way, and we were lucky in persuading the Americans by offering to let their aeroplanes for the Gulf War coming in from Philippines to land in India and refuel and then go on to Iraq. They were helpful, and they got us condition-free $2 billion, which is maybe about $15 billion today in today's prices. $2 billion, which solved our problem. And then Mr. Narasimha Rao came, and all those Chandrasekhar's government, I had prepared blueprints. He took them over, implemented it, and within 15 days of taking office, he had turned the economy on a path which went on accelerating. And by the last year of Mr. Rao's tenure, we were achieving 8% growth rate for the first time in history. Otherwise, we were the Kerala economists who are mostly left-wing used to derisively say India has a Hindu rate of growth of 3.5% per year, when it was in fact a communist rate of growth. So I think we must understand that India is full of potential, and therefore let's not despair. There's no shortage of capacity. We have the only country of the large countries which can grow crops throughout the year, and at least 3 crops a year can be grown in our agricultural land. We are presently only growing 15%, 25% of the land, one more crop, but we are not growing 3 crops. If you grow 3 crops, you will triple your production without any additional investment. But the farmers don't have the money for it, they don't have the credit, they don't have the right price. And so nations like America, which can't grow anything for 5 months of the year because of snowfall, and same thing with Europe, they are producing more than us because they are using their land more effectively. And in our land, the output per acre is so low. If you look at the Agricultural Research Institute pilot plots, and where they have sort of monitored it by adequate pesticides, water, fertilizer, and so on, they are able to get 5 to 6 times the yield per acre that the average farmer gets. So in our country, we have the potential now to increase it. So I'm saying this only to say that we have a very bad situation. And if we understand why the bad situation has come, then I think we can turn around this country very quickly and go. And there, I would say that Corona, perhaps, I think, I don't think anybody is expecting it to go beyond September. And I will be free from that. Although what it has left behind, we must understand. They have left behind landless people without jobs, their companies closing down, airlines grounded. They've been across the board. Corona has created a situation where our economy is going into, instead of the country going into a lockdown, the economy is going into a lockdown. So we have to rectify that. And the question is how. Secondly, now we have a new problem, and that is the Chinese have come and occupied Indian land. And I have no hesitation in saying, I've been a good friend of the Chinese. I speak Chinese. I've been to China many times. I was responsible for persuading the Chinese to open Kailash Mansara route. And the first trade deal, trade protocol, which was signed by India ever with China, was by when I was Commerce Minister. So I know them extremely well. Their top leaders like Tang Xiaoping have met me on a one-to-one discussion. I am very, very sorry that this has happened, because it is totally uncalled for. They have occupied our land. And if they had a reason why they wanted some part of our land, they should have talked to us. Maybe we could have made a deal with some other part of land in some other part of their country. But the fact is, we suddenly discovered when we were least expecting it in April 15th to May 5th, that the Chinese have crossed what is called as the line of actual control. The line of actual control is not British made, where China has a very popular answer to everything. They say, oh, the imperialists made these lines, they snatched it from China. But this one is a line drawn by India and China together. After my meeting with Deng Xiaoping and then Rajiv Gandhi's visit in 1988 and then Narasimha Rao's visit, and these all put together, in 1993, we drew up a confidence measure, creating measures, agreement, and then this was more further expanded in 1996 when Devagowda was Prime Minister, and then in 2013, Manmohan Singh's time, there was another agreement. And so the line which is not demarcated, demarcation means you on the ground you have verified that the boundary is accurate. Delineation is on a map you draw. So on a map, both India and China agreed to draw a line which is called the LAC, line of actual control. And all these years, they never crossed it. They used to come up to the border. We used to go up to the border. And then, sometimes we exchange sweets, sometimes we exchange boxing matches, So that was all there was there. But what happened this time is that because of Corona, our soldiers did not go and occupy the position which we normally do in summer, including that the hills that are there of Galwan, and Galwan hills. There's a river which divides two peaks, and one peak is on the other side of the bank where the Chinese were there always. And then we were here on this side always. But on that particular occasion, we had, because of Corona, we did not go because we didn't expect the Chinese to do this in our absence. And they not only occupied this mountain peak, and it's not a mountain, I would say it's a hill peak. And then on top of it, 4 or 5 other places where they have occupied it. And the Diplom is another area which is very near the Karakoram Pass. Now, I don't think the Chinese want to vacate that. And therefore, we have to perhaps have a war, because we can't just keep quiet and say, okay, you have grabbed it, now you can keep it, because this will remind everybody about 1962. And it is very bad for the image of our party, which is a nationalistic party. We have always made fun of Jawaharlal Nehru. And Modi himself has been going around and making tough speeches. So therefore, we have to reply, we make them vacate. And in this, I'm not sure that there will be any international support as such. We may get backup support for equipment and also from Israel, and perhaps a little from America. But America has recently given a statement saying that they are sorry so many soldiers of India died in the confrontation with China. They have not condemned China for crossing the line of actual control to come across. So therefore, our economy now has a new burden, and that is to start preparing for perhaps a major onslaught to vacate our territories. And the question is, can Indian economy survive all this? Can it restore itself? There, I would say we have one advantage which we have not used, and we have not followed the correct policy. I'm sorry to say, and I've written this in my book, which has come out called Reset, and where I've explained what the problem with the Indian economy is. Indian economy has suffered for the last 5-6 years, in fact, even a little more, largely because of bad policies, and bad policies by people who don't know economics. Raghuram Rajan never knew any economics, but he had one thing in his mind, that if I raise the interest rates, I can control the inflation. And in the process of raising the interest rates, he made the cost of capital so high that the MSMEs all started collapsing, those who are on the borderline, and that led to unemployment. And he kept saying that I don't know of any other way to control inflation. But that's like a doctor saying that I don't know how to bring down the temperature, So the only way I can bring down the temperature of a person is to kill him. Then of course the body temperature will come down. I mean, that's the kind of logic he was giving. Then we have too high, the interest rates are too high. In America, you can get a loan for not more than 2%. Sometimes you can get for even less than 2%. And so why is it that we have such a high interest rate? Interest rates are to induce people either to save. For example, if the fixed deposit rates are 9% instead of the present 6%, people will save much more. We already, our households are saving a huge amount, and therefore we should have low interest rates. Third is that there's no incentive to save money and reinvest it for most people because of these high taxes. And these taxes, especially income tax, is a harassment. It's a terrorism, as people say. And therefore, I would say that it's important that we now give incentives to the people. So today, the malaise in the Indian economy is weak demand. And the weak demand has come because you have our policies of the past have deprived people of their due income, or have taken away too large a share of the income, and therefore people are either putting in black money, which means going out of the country, or it just goes into consumption and doesn't go into savings. So I think we need therefore to go in for a set of policies which increases the demand. In the finance minister announced 20 crore or 20.9 crore, what she calls a stimulus package, but there's no stimulus in it. It's all credit and loosening of the rules for credit and so on. That means you're really assisting those who are going to supply. Yeah, an industrialist may take a loan to build to start his production. That is not the malaise today. Today, people are not buying. They're not creating demand. They're not going to shops and buying. You would be surprised that Britannia biscuits is not able to sell biscuits now because there's no demand for biscuits because people are saving whatever little money they have. So, and then you have all these people becoming unemployed. Factories are retiring people, reducing them. Even newspapers are now cutting down on the employment. So consequently, what we need now is a focus on how to raise the demand factor. And for that, we have to learn from John Maynard Keynes in Europe and the United States you see what happened in 1925. The US president said to his economists, elections are coming and I find the unemployment is too high. So therefore, I need to somehow reduce this unemployment. What is the policy I should adopt? And then that time the economists knew only little. So they suggested, the wage rates are too high because of the unions. And because the unions have by collective bargaining have such a high rate, therefore the demand for labor has gone down. So you persuade the unions that till the elections are over, they should take a 10% voluntary cut in their wages, and that you would restore it after the elections. So the president was impressed with that. And by common sense logic, of course, it seemed reasonable. So he had persuaded the unions to reduce it. And once it was reduced, they got the shock of their life that unemployment actually increased instead of being reduced. So, and there was an investigation. How did this happen? And it took John Maynard Keynes to come and tell them that what you did is, when you reduce the wages, you also reduce the purchasing power. When you reduce the purchasing power, the demand went down. When the demand went down, those who are on the borderline, they all started closing down because they were not getting enough revenue. So therefore, today, if you want to revive the economy, you make people give people money. Either you give it directly, like in America just now on the COVID-19 thing. What Trump has done for millions of people in their bank account, he has transferred money. And billions of dollars have been put in that. And that's keeping the demand up, and so that the shops and all are not closing down in America. So the same way here, we should have started building roads, and all those employed there, give them money. Where is the money going to come from? I can tell you a number of sources it can come from, but I'm saying even if those sources are not there, you can print money. I mean, after all, there's no gold standard. There's no limit to the amount of money you can print. You print the money and give it to the workers who are building the roads. They will go and use that money to buy something in the shop. So the shopkeeper then starts, selling his product. His inventory comes down, and therefore he makes a profit. Then the cycle starts that way. That's how it started in the West after the Great Depression. So in our country, that thing is not there. We are not putting money into the people's hands. The migrant workers should have been told, why are you going? We will give you the money, whatever salary, how much they've got, nothing much. All these paper stimulus that is claimed is not stimulus, it is liquidity. Stimulus is when you give money to people to go and spend. Here it's, if you want to invest and you want an easy terms, then we are going to ease it. If you are unable to pay back, we'll ease the rules on that. That is not what we want today. And even today, I'm sorry to say, our government has not understood that the key part is demand. And I will say that if tomorrow, because of China, we start saying, okay, start defense production, let us start producing more guns, so on and so forth, that will actually improve the economy. It did it for the United States. United States in 1941 was still under the effects of the Depression. Roosevelt, by building roads, all these turnpikes, and you see in America, he did it. But when Roosevelt was despairing, at that time, the Japanese went and bombed Pearl Harbor and wiped out the Navy. And so America declared war. And for that means war production. And that war production removed unemployment, and the money that they got, which was through printed money from the exchequer, from their reserve bank, their federal bank, they call it, and that they went and spent, and the economy boomed during the war, and the war created. So I think if the Prime Minister Modi asks me, I'll tell him, go to war with China, and the economy will definitely improve. But I'm saying that even if you don't go to war, these are methods to do it, and this methods requires a systematic thing. What is the difficulty in giving money to workers who go to the agriculturalists and say, okay, we will carry your production. We are going to get a bumper crop this year, and the farmers are worried who's going to pick it up and take it to the market. Is there a market, and so on. So all these things, your one line focus today in your economy should be, how can I increase demand by putting money into people's hands? How to put that money into your hands? Not this question now of I'm tinkering with this, I'm tinkering with that, I'm telling the banks to do this and so on. By the way, the Reserve Bank of India had 7 or 8 trillion rupees as deposits from the bank, because the banks felt it is no use investing money anymore. So they put it in a deposit in a Reserve Bank, which is called reverse repo rate. That means the Reserve Bank will give them 3.5% interest on their money. That money you can take and give it to the people. If you are very keen that you must have in your budget some where you have to show that you got some money. The Reserve Bank money is yours for use. There are plenty of ways of doing it. All these auctions there which are still pending, coal and 5G and 4G spectrum, all these, they can generate a lot of funds. So I don't think there's any problem of fund. What is the problem today with our government's economic policies? That we are not focusing on demand generation. And that will mean that just by helping industrialists to survive, not to go bankrupt, no, that is not going to solve the problem, because they won't be able to sell their products because there's no one to buy it. So how to see that the demand for these products go up, that is the key thing. So I would say as far as Corona is concerned, it has damaged the whole world, and we are We all don't know. I mean, we are all religious people, so we say it must be some bad karma we have done. But once you expend that karma, bad karma, then for that bad karma, then good times will come. And I don't think that you have. But what we have to really worry is that if your economy continues to slide down because of your past policies, which is supply oriented, without considering the demand factor, then you will go down even more and you will not be able to get out of this present thing. So with these words, I have exhausted my half an hour. I'm ready for any questions you have. I would say end with a hopeful note. India will never sink. I've seen India many times. People told me in 1965, India will never be able to feed itself. Well, disproved. People told me in 1990, when I was a minister, we are all gone bankrupt. India will finish like the Soviet Union, will break up into several countries. Nothing of the kind happened. We have that resilience. After all, in our history, we were attacked and we fought for 600 years and ultimately liberated ourselves from the foreign invaders. And then again, the British came, we spent 150 years, we got rid of them also. And so let's be hopeful and let's know there is a solution. And we should propagate today to the government, give us generate demand. We will take care of supply. We don't need you for encouraging supply. You just generate demand. And tomorrow we can go back to a 10% growth rate and cover up all the losses we have had. And if you grow for 10% per year for 10 years, you will overtake China. China is in a bad way. You don't know how bad their economy is because their whole economic strategy for growth is now become out of date, which is take semi-processed goods from East Asia, add value and sell it as final product in the West. That is over now because their labor has become very expensive and East Asian countries are now not in a position anymore to send anything through China. And with this, all this political thing, they may, in fact, China may be denied it. I will only say this, by the way, don't blame China for only China for this COVID or coronavirus pandemic, because that research was in Wuhan was done with both United States Department of Defense and India Tata Institute of Fundamental Research. So, if you start going on saying Wuhan virus and all, one day people will say, you people are also involved in it. So it's not a deliberate thing. It cannot be a deliberate thing, but it is something that we have learned. But in the past, in 1919, we had an influenza epidemic, which people thought the same way. We are done for, we'll never survive. Today, influenza has been taken now stride. It's no more an issue. HIV came. We thought now we'll all die. Emaciated, will spread, this, that. Today, there's no HIV. So therefore, we have that capacity to finish corona. So I have no difficulty in saying that. And if we are properly equipped, Indian Army is already very brave. They have demonstrated what in fact, maybe 20 of our people had to die, but there 43 people have died. They are only covered because it's a communist country, they have covered it up. But we know, and the Americans are using all kinds of electronic methods to find out, and they have put out an estimate of 43. And we know that we can fight if there is a backing of the government on its availability of all the necessary guns and clothing and so on, which I think we have learned a lesson from 62. So our defense we can take care of, and we will get a huge mental boost once we clear the Chinese from the trespass of our territory. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for the fantastic informations. And now we have a few questions which our Senior Vice President Madhav Chandran will be asking you from the chat box. We have a lot of questions. Madhav, please.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir, for sharing those pearls of wisdom from your experience and all the exposures you had already. There are so many questions. Most of them, in the beginning were aligned in one direction. We had past President S.R. Nair, we had Anil Balan, many of them asking something in the same way, saying that with such an experienced man of practical wisdom and a genius economist in the party, when can we see you as a finance minister of the destiny of a nation? And that is the crux of all these questions coming up.
Well, I certainly would like to be finance minister, but I've never asked the prime minister. At one stage, he did hint before the election, but then he forgot. Generally speaking, people tell Modi that, you see, this Swamy, he's not only an economist, but he's also a politician. And if he does well in the job, he will then become ambitious and want you to take your job also. So I think there is this insecurity which is responsible. Otherwise, there's no other reason. I am not only an economist, but I've done Ram Mandir. It is my work which has got it done. Ram Setu, fighting corruption. I have put Sonia Gandhi under bail and Rahul Gandhi under bail. And I can tell you once the corona is over, I'll probably in 6 months send them to jail also. So,
Wow.
yes, definitely. There's no escape. So Chidambaram has already spent 106 days in jail, and he'll spend much more. And so I'm fighting corruption. And therefore, what is it that could be against? I mean, this age business, you see, is all not there in the party constitution. It's just used in the media. And the people who used it are already dying before they reached even 65. I won't name names, but those people were responsible for spreading this canard that, we have an age limit. Mahathir today, as Prime Minister of Malaysia, he is 94. And Churchill became for the third time at the age of 90. It's dependent on what kind of health you have. What matters is health. You're a sick man and you're under 65, you're no good. The health is the key thing. So I don't know what the objections are, and nor am I consulted. So I don't know. I mean, frankly speaking, it's for the people to decide. If you don't give me finance, I have other things to do, and I'm doing that. I'm going around addressing meetings like this privileged occasion. So, don't ask me this question. Catch hold of me and ask him why. I don't know why. I've been a minister with Narasimha Rao. I've been a minister with Chandrasekhar. I'm almost a minister with Maraji Desai. By the time his government fell, otherwise I would have been a finance minister in place of H.M. Patel at that time. So none of these people had any problem. Why I should be a problem to Modi, whom I've known since 1972. So I think there is some problem, and it has not been explained to me. So nor am I interested. I believe in prarabdha. So if God says that Swamy is to become minister, I'll become tomorrow. Don't worry about that.
Thank you, sir. That is really candid. We have Mr. Acharya Harida from Singapore has joined this meeting. He is saying, in case war happens, will internal unrest likely to pop up by various vested groups who have an interest in that? How shall it be managed to control internal enemies within?
If there's a war with China, it will be confined to Kashmir. And they have a limited objective. This Aksai Chin, unfortunately, it is too close to Karakoram Pass. And we have already frightened them a bit by abolishing Article 370, and there's been no reaction. I mean, people said that the day India removes 370, there will be fire and people will revolt and Kashmir will become separate. Farooq Abdullah, in fact, has publicly said that. Nothing happened. We put Farooq Abdullah in jail. Not even one person said why you put him in jail. Of course, normal left-wing people will say that, but general public didn't go to his house. The public didn't turn up in numbers. So I would say that they're feeling that if we recovered the whole of Aksai Chin, because today we have a line of actual control. That's not the whole of Aksai Chin. The Aksai, part of the Aksai Chin is under occupation by China. That is our stand. And but we agreed that we will negotiate and clear it. As far as Arunachal is concerned, Macmahon line was by a Britisher. but the Chinese have accepted MAC-1 line for Burma. So if you have accepted it for Burma, you have to accept for India. So somewhere we have to say to the Chinese or show to the Chinese in no more 1962. And we'll let you go this time after we push you back. This time we were taken aback. We didn't even know, our chaps didn't even have an order to shoot when they were hit with nails and stones and big sticks. So because under that confidence building measure, our army was obliged not to use any weapons. So the 1996-1993 agreement made our chaps with discipline not to use it, and these people pounced on them with their primitive weapons. So I would say, going back on this, I don't think that the Chinese will like to fight us in any other place, and because they have very long supply lines, and they can't come down to India. If they come to Madhya Pradesh, that's the end of China.
Yeah, I think one question from Mr. Rahman is also on the same line, asking, with your experience, a long experience with Chinese, do you foresee a congenial atmosphere of good relations with India and China in the near future?
Yes, of course, because we are neighbors, and we have no conflict of interest. And we share a culture. All their monks used to come to India. Your Kerala Kalari Pattu went there, and now from there it went to Japan and come back to us as karate. I mean, it's too much. Your Ayurveda medicines, the Chinese have used. They given it their own label. So we have a long history right from say 750 BC. And not one conflict, not at all one conflict till 1962. So this is because we have been culturally friendly throughout. We have been having exchanges and so on. And even today, when I go to China, I find people learning Sanskrit, doing Bharatanatyam. They tell me about parts of history which I didn't know myself, like Shaolin, where you can go and see, there's a signboard saying that the monk from India called Bodhidharma came us and taught us Wushu. Wushu is Kalari Pattu, and which when you read the characters in Japanese, it is pronounced as karate. So these are things. I am all for good relations with China, but that doesn't mean that they can come on my territory. Some military general has given you wrong advice that this is necessary and the Indians can't do anything about it. They are wrong. And I'm sure that the Chinese will purge these people. There'll be a new leadership, and we will have, again, good relations with China.
Sir, we've been hearing about all kinds of news of banning Chinese products, goods. Syed Makkar is asking, do you appreciate what is being told about this total ban of Chinese products and goods?
Well, then you don't need a formal ban. You don't buy Chinese if you don't want to. I mean, supposing I say, till I raise the issue on cement, till 4 months ago, we were importing cement. And today, cement of Pakistan, importing cement from Pakistan. And today, Pakistan is sending it to Dubai. From Dubai, it is coming here. So Chinese thing also, the same thing will happen. You can't in this world, ban products. You have to make sure only that what they export, the same amount we export, what they export to us, the same amount in monetary terms we export to them. Right now, for every 10 rupees they export to us, we are only able to export 2 rupees to them. So there's a unbalanced trade, but that's all that needs to be corrected. And I don't think our fight with China is going to be long term. It is a gross miscalculation that leadership has done. They have not understood the complete change since 1962. And we have demonstrated once or twice. We demonstrated in Sikkim, that valley, in 1967, then Sumdung in 1987. We have the Chinese did not intervene in our fight for Bangladesh independence because they knew we were very strong. They can't do very much except at the border. And similarly, in when Kargil took place. So I think there's a lot of rationality, and maybe the military got its way. And once there's a defeat, I think the politicians in China will make a course change, and we'll be back to having good relations with them.
Thank you, sir. So many questions are coming up that I'll just take one here, which is from Mr. Chako Chatanat as well as Mrs. Nalina Poduwal, basically talking about the MSME's role. The entire responsibility is reviving, of reviving the economy is put on the bankers now. Do you think the MSMEs will come to banks seeking fresh loans in these conditions of uncertainty? Yeah.
I agree with you. It's stupid. I said that at that time when the finance minister announced it. What you have to do is put money in the account of the MSME company's bank account. Just send them, and you don't have to actually print notes for that. You just, it's a paper entry. And they can then use that to buy their inputs. So I think MSME, this is not the way. They have to pay wages to their workers. So you pay that. So I'm saying that you can please go to America and see what Trump has done. I mean, Trump, there are a lot of other controversies about him, but on this, he has put into a very large number of people, including small industries, money straight into their bank from their Federal Reserve Bank. That is the way to do it. And not as a, you have to go and fold your hands before the finance ministry or the bank or the Reserve Bank. It should be done by this method so that they have it and they go and spend it. That's the only way to uplift the MSMEs.
One more question on the boundary side, that is there a war with China happening? What's the impact of Nepal going with them? Sri Lanka already with them? Will we be surrounded by all kinds of problematic people? Mr. Smesh Menon is asking that question.
Well, Nepal, we are responsible for their bad feelings. We have ignored them. And we had the same problem with Sri Lanka, but especially at the UPA period when they were favoring that terrorist Prabhakaran of LTTE, especially Ms. Sonia Gandhi and Chidambaram. And I had befriended Rajapaksa because LTTE had put me on a hit list, so I decided to put them on my hit list. So I encouraged him, I supported him, I ensured that no UN investigation takes place by talking to the Americans. And now he's a Pakka friend of India. So the same way we have to do with Nepal. We promised them that we'll build this, we'll give that money for this, that, nothing. And the Prime Minister himself complained to me, Mr. Oli, that you see, what face will I show to the public? They'll think that we are being treated like servants. Then we had a blockade. That was terrible. First time we had a blockade because Pashupatinath temple priest said Sonia Gandhi can't enter, Rajiv Gandhi can enter, but Sonia Gandhi can't enter because she's not a Hindu. And we have put a signboard saying no Hindus, non-Hindus not allowed. So if you want to go around the campus of the Pashupatinath thing, we have no problem. But you can't come to the sanctum sanctorum. On that, she forced Rajiv Gandhi to have a blockade, which was disastrous. And then our own government did a blockade, which was not only disastrous, but stupid. And that enraged them. So there's a hurt feeling. And I think if we deal with the Nepalis, they will come out of supporting. Otherwise, the Chinese do have a hope that Nepal and Pakistan will jointly join with them to attack us in Kashmir. But Nepal we can delink. And Pakistan, I think we will have to ask the Americans to keep them in check. Only the Americans can do it. And so it will be only India, China, and China will lose, especially on that terrain. And it's also morally correct that they lose.
That's a lot of possibilities, sir. There's one question I would take as the last question now. Mr. Ramchandra K is asking, you've been talking about scrapping income tax, which is a major source of revenue for the government. Income tax contributes 26%.
This is an accountant way of looking at it.
Yeah.
I am an economist, right? When that money I stop taking, what do you think they will do? They'll go and buy something through indirect taxes. I'll get the money. And what is the shortage of money? All right, last time when somebody raised it, I said auction 2G spectrum, and you see how much money you get. You got 1,76,000 crores, which is more than the income tax at that time. And so today, if you auction 4G and 5G, you will get all the money. Or auction the coal blocks. We have not been auctioning the coal blocks for a long time. So there are plenty of resources, and resources it's an artificial thing. Whenever you feel short for a project that you don't have money, the government can print notes and give it to the workers. Workers will go and buy goods and services, and the economic cycle will improve. This is economics. Economics is a multi-sectoral phenomenon, not this shopkeeper and the buyer. So if as I told you, if I raise interest rates, then the cost of capital will go up, and therefore my investment will come down or I'll close down, and then that will lead to a spiral by which I won't have any revenue. So we have to see that the intersectoral impact, that if supposing abolish income tax, what will people do? About 25% of that they'll go and spend. 75% they'll put in fixed deposit. You got your money back. So we should have a dynamic attitude to this. And the harassment. Why should people have this harassment? Every day getting notices. A fellow, even if you have given everything correctly, still he says, I will be suspect if I don't give you a notice, so I'll give you a notice, please answer it. I've seen income tax inspectors talking like that. So income tax, and today there's no income tax on agricultural income. There's no income tax for people who are poor, and for the rich, they've got chartered accountants. So it's only a middle class which is suffering because of income tax, and that is this middle class. I want them. They are buyers of goods and services. So I think we should encourage them.
Sir, I think I should take one last question, one more, because Jimol Koritvargis is asking, in your opinion, what could be the logic of this exorbitant and continuous price increase petrol and diesel on a daily basis now? I mean, common level's question. This is
lack of imagination of our finance minister. She has no clue. How can you go on raising prices of fuel? I don't understand. How much do you get out of it also? So I think it is just, lack of brains in finance ministry. Nothing more than that. Now, what can I do about it? You give me a chance, I'll reduce petrol prices to 30 rupees a liter.
Wow, that sums up the whole thing, sir. You answered everything in a nutshell, I must say. Thank you so much. I think it's already 7 o'clock. I hand it over back to the president. Wonderful session, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. And now I invite our Honorary Secretary, Mr. Bibu Pundiran, to propose the vote of thanks and his remarks. Bibu, please.
Jibu, 1 second. Bibu,
yes.
1 second.
Yes.
Please unmute Pramod. Pramod wants to talk to Dr. Swamy.
Okay.
Yes, do that.
Rajit, please.
Yeah.
Done, sir. Done.
Pramod, please go ahead. We cannot hear Pramod.
Unable to unmute.
Yeah, we are not able to hear. Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah.
Pramod sir is unmuted.
Yeah, he is unmuted. I'll spotlight him.
Yes.
I think, yeah. Okay.
Pramod.
Speak.
Yes.
Thank you so much for accepting our invite, and didn't want Rajmohan to make that so public.
Okay.
Thank you, Pramod, once again.
for bringing our Dr. Swamy here.
Yes, and my
Thank
regards
you,
to
thank you.
GPC Nair also.
Yeah, thank you.
So shall convey.
Okay.
Hi, Indu.
Yeah. Thank you, Pramod. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Thank you, thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you, Pramod.
Bye.
Thank you, professors. Thank you.
Okay.
Bibu, please.
Yeah. Good evening to all of you KMA members, President Jibu Paul, and all our senior members. Indeed, it was yet another wonderful evening with our leadership talks, and especially getting a luminary like Dr. Subramanian Swamy to address us this evening is something fantastic, especially in these depressing times. In fact, I was not very sure as to what to expect from you, sir, because but I was so happy to listen to the fact that we are a country which is having full potential, and we have the potential to have agricultural farming around the year,
Yes.
and so we could become one of the strongest economies in the world as what you're saying, and. The one point that will sink into our minds is that India will never sink. That's a statement that you made.
Yes.
And we have the resilience to overcome anything and everything. Yes. And you rightfully put it, generating demand is the need of the hour rather than, trying to put in stimuluses, the so-called stimuluses. I think that's a great take for all of us in the business community out here. And I thank you very much, sir, for giving us this enlightening evening and also brightening our spirits during these COVID times and the so-called looming war against China at this moment. Thank you so much for this great evening together. And let me also thank our close friend, Pramod Tevanur, for bringing you here. Of course, our past president and program committee chair, Raj Mohan Nair, also involved in this. And Senior Vice President Madhav Chandran, thank you very much for being with us. Of course, President Jibu Paul for leading us from the front, and our secretariat team, past presidents, management committee members, and all the 172 participants who are listening to
No,
so
178
keenly.
participants were there.
178 participants. Thank you for correcting me, past president. Thank you so much, all of you, for being with us this evening. And once again, a big thank you to you, Subramanian Swamy, sir, for giving us so much of your time for us this evening. Thank you once and all. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you,
Good night.
sir, for all the positive notes. And Bibu, our Sanjay Grover from IMA is also attending the program, and few of us LMAs from local management associations from Kerala. We have around 9 local management associations. They are also.
I'd like to thank all of you, sir, especially Mr. Sanjay Grover and all our LMA presidents and secretaries for joining us this evening on this great evening together with Dr. Subramanian.
So many students are also there.
Yeah, thank you all the students.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Once again, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Pramod. Thank you, Indu. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Rajit, you can unmute.
Yeah,
all.
everyone unmuted.
Pramod,
They can
thank
unmute
you.
themselves.
Thank you very much.
Excellent, President Jibu. It was fantastic.
Thank you.
Hi. You have a new look.
Vice President